Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jim, and this is The Spot. Today's show, we're featuring some pure gold from the National Kit Car Show. We've got some updates on some projects that we have from friends across the planet, and we've got something completely new and different. But before we get started, hit that like and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us to spread the word.
We've been trying to track this guy down all weekend. This guy is Gerry Hawkridge of Hawk Cars, an industry. Is the word legend too strong? I don't think. Gerry, you certainly wouldn't say the word legend's too strong, would you?
I'm afraid I've been responsible. I have to admit to being called a legend a few times. But this one is a bit of a special car as far as the chassis and body section. That is a tool room copy of an original car. And whereas that car, if you look over in that one, it's got a V6 Alfa Romeo 3-litre engine.
Yeah.
This one, we've gone just a little bit too far.
Well, you said before we started filming, Gerry was going to test me. So I'm going to have a look. Now, he's pointing at something which is making me slightly cough because it says Dino. So this is a Ferrari engine.
That is a Ferrari Dino engine, which is what they used in the original cars. The very first prototype had an engine from a Lancia Fulvia, one of the V4s.
The little one, yeah.
Yeah, but the actual production cars, they managed finally to persuade Ferrari to let them have some of the Ferrari 246 engines because they got a surplus of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
And most of them had the later ones, which were called the D-blocks. But the engine in this car is a Ferrari 246 engine, and it's pretty damn faithful to an original. This is virtually a tool room copy of an original car. So, every bit, even the spot welds are the same spacing and everything else.
I think the detail on it's fantastic. And is this a car you're going to supply? Is this just a one-off?
I've got a batch of 3 going through at the moment. We'd like to do a couple more. But I'm also doing a halfway house version because this is quite expensive.
I can imagine.
You know, you're looking for quite a lot of money to be able to get the right engine. And the engines, although it's lovely to have the right engine, that's a lot more expensive, a lot less reliable, and not as powerful as the Alfa V6. But it's nice to do it right.
And that's what you're known for. You're known for doing it right.
I mean, I even go to the trouble of going very high up the mountains to be able to get the correct mice with big enough fur coats to be able to trim the dashboards because they're mouse hair.
We were blessed to have the opportunity to do a documentary on the TMC Costin with Sean Thompson and with Billy Doyle. And Billy is away on, I guess, a vacation in his caravan right now, but I thought I'd include some of the salient points of TMC Costin Part 2 so you can get a sampling of Billy's restoration project.
You know, I mean, there was we built more than 50 chassis, okay, but some projects were sold as kit cars, and the owners never finished them. But I mean, registered on the road cars was like close to 40 cars that were actually registered on the road, you know, finished driving at some point, you know, and I think there's a big surge in interest at the moment for people who are trying to get their hands on. I mean, I'm sure Billy gets asked, and he's asking me and things for people who are, oh, Jay, if you ever come across one of those, you know, let me know and I'll buy it type thing, you know. But
I was going to say, this is what I said at the start. There's a hell of a lot of interest in TMC Costin.
Yeah. For me as an enthusiast,
and you are an enthusiast, supreme.
Sean's mum was teaching me in second class when they were building cars, like, so I was only 10 years of age, and I love cars, toy cars, obviously. But I was there, and I asked her about them that then. She said, "Yeah, they're building cars," and that's as much as she told me at the time. And I only saw one then, probably it could have been a year later, because I wouldn't have been down around the village to see them or anything. You wouldn't see them that often, and I always thought I'd love one, and then I saw one at Crosstown filling station. It was the main service petrol station, and I was blown away. I was in the car with my mum coming home, and I saw it, and I hadn't seen the sports car like in early 80s in real life, and I just fell in love with it. And then I just, you know, as you do, you grow up and you get on with life and all. And I always thought, and especially that you mentioned Cork and your family from Cork and all, but me as a family man, then as I was driving to Cork, to Killarney on my holidays, let's say, right, with my caravan and the usual stuff, I always wondered where did the Murphy's Irish Stout car end up down in Cork, because that's where it was brewed. Murphy's Irish Stout were from Cork, and I said, wouldn't it be amazing to find it? And
wow,
lo and behold, I found a Costin about 14 years ago. Yeah, about 12 or 13 years ago, but I couldn't afford it at the time. It was in bits, and I offered everything bar enough money, and this guy was selling it for a friend. But anyway, I lost contact with him, and I just kind of gave up. And not till a friend of ours then, that Michael, he bought one in 2020, and it reignited me. I literally buried it and just got into Volkswagens because I knew I thought I'd never ever get one.
Never get a Costin, yeah.
Yeah, and like for you know the way you watch Indiana Jones, you think the Temple of Doom, finding that treasure, like, you know what I mean? You drive around. I would have been driving around delivering stuff.
Like a restoration.
No, but you know what I mean. Finding that ultimate treasure, like, as an enthusiast, right?
Yeah,
and
especially like a barn find that nobody knows what they've got.
Yeah.
Offer them 500 quid. I'll pick it up now. Yeah.
Yeah. If only it was that. But like to find then a car that was built in your village, right? And lo and behold, it was the guy who wanted the Murphy's Irish Stout car had my car. He had found it on the internet 3 years before that. But the guy that had it before him had it for 8 years. So it hasn't seen the road in probably 20 odd years. It was in England for 10 years. And then it was brought back here.
This is a perfect segue. Why don't we turn your camera around and show us your bits in your shed?
Well, there was also an option to put a tub in the back, so you could actually have two rear-facing seats
for the kids.
Children.
Yeah.
No, I have never seen any pictures of that yet. I can't find any, but that for young kids, that must have been an absolute blast.
I never seen it. How about you, Sean?
No, there's never been a picture with kids in it, but I have carried a passenger in the boot on many occasions. I was dating this lady from Dublin, and whenever she came down, obviously you have to think back 40 years ago. Parents are a bit more strict back then, than they are now. And for my girlfriend to come down and spend the weekend here at my parents' house, she was only allowed to come down if she could take her friends with her, and so then
like a chaperone, yeah.
Exactly. So three of us into a 2-seater sports car, I tell you this much. We did a lot of traveling, with her and the girl, when she was slim, and she had no issue, stretching her leg over the back, with the tailgate open, getting in. We had cushions in there for her to sit on. Yeah, she was fine, There was no regulations those days about mandatory seatbelts and stuff like this, But we go out to the pub, we go out for dinner, we go out anywhere for a cruise, and she'd be in the boot.
Billy, show us your shed. Yeah. Okay.
No, sure, that'll do. That'll do it. So coming in the door, and I have my car sitting pretty. I bought it in January.
I was going to say, looking at that, because it's pretty much all fiberglass apart from the alley side panels, wasn't it?
Yeah. I bought it in January 21. Mm-hmm. And it was a car, but it was underneath. It was a lot of bars were rotten. I'd say I had lived in a yard or something. I wasn't kept inside anyway.
I think you said you replaced about 50 foot worth of tube, haven't you?
Yeah. There's the suspension bits I've sprayed today.
Was that especially for the show?
No. This is especially to get me back into it because I've cleaned up the shed just to, you know, the way when you
John,
go away from a project, you leave it.
Yeah,
John, I think it's especially for the car.
Yeah.
Can I
So,
ask you, Billy? Can I ask you,
Yeah.
Billy, a question? When you got the car, when you received the car, was it stripped
Yeah.
down to its space frame, and then you're in the process of reassembly now, or what condition?
No. When I bought the car, it was complete. Now there was no engine or gearbox in it, so I had to locate them first and foremost. So I bought the engine off Sean, and which was out of a Costin, and I got the gearbox then.
What engine and gearbox you going with?
Type 9 5-speed gearbox, and the engine then is the CVH. The engine is a CVH. It came out of one of the last Costins made.
So that's what they ended. A lot of them ended up with CVH engines. Well, apart from the Ford twin cams as well. But yeah, nice.
Yeah, Sean is doing his own project, so I bought his engine and he didn't need it. So it saved me an awful lot of hassle trying to, because I literally, when I bought the car, I loved the idea of having one, but I hadn't a clue about them. I didn't know Sean Thompson. I knew of Sean Thompson. I heard of their brothers. The only guy I knew was Michael, and he would have been telling me the stories when he was obviously in his 20s, having the crack on race days and you know, different good times. Like, and I was just listening to those stories, which kind of engraved in me. Like, Jesus, imagine having one of these cars from your own village and getting a chance to own this and do it up.
That shot you've got there, I can see all the chassis rails, and that's how Frank got the. He's got like 3 triangulation bits for the car.
Oh, that beautiful triangulation! It's amazing. Yeah.
So it reduces all the flexing in the middle between the front and the back of the car.
Isn't it? I mean, it's
absolute work of art.
Sean, is that all square?
If you look at the picture, if you look at the shot Billy is showing you now of the interior, you see that raised chassis section in the middle where effectively the underside of your knees.
Yeah.
The car, because in any kind of open cockpit car, you have all the torsional rigidity is lost in the middle because obviously you need to have occupants in the car. So Frank came up with this concept here to raise the center part because it was in a dead area anyway. Because obviously you need to sit in the car. So this amazingly increase the torsional stiffness of the car. You know,
but yeah, there's the back of the car. I have the back.
So the rear suspension.
You don't have the rumble seat back there.
No.
I'm gonna see if I can find some pictures on that. I know I read it somewhere.
You won't.
I know I read it somewhere.
I know. John is. I think
that was just a sales pitch. Now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was wondering.
But yeah, so that's. I said some of the car is still living up there. But I just stuck the nose cone on it today, all right, just to see what was lining up like and stuff. But
it's not looking too bad. That's looking all right.
take this bit out, triangulate it differently, I'll be able to move it back a couple of inches, which will give me more room up here. But it's not looking too bad.
Granting us 5 minutes in the shed. Just wanted to find out about the PRB. What's the story on that? What's the backstory on that car?
This car was very overpriced, and eventually he got the car quite cheap. But at least it's got the 4 AGE motor, and it's a lot better car as strength-wise and all that sort of stuff. So, he bought it and then brought it up for me just to go through it. And things have evolved where sort of hard. All the brakes were leaking and everything because it sat for 10 years.
10 years.
And you go to rebuild brake calipers and master cylinders. Well, you might as well upgrade them. So that's what we did. And then you have all the suspension off. You think, well, I'm not putting all this rusty stuff back on. So it had a real good paint job. And then he wanted a colour change. So we changed the colour. And you think, well, you can't just paint the bodywork and not clean up all the aluminium. And
Quite a nice project. It was a refresh, not a rebuild, but it turned out beautifully. Yeah. Can I ask you, what kind of stuff have you got coming into this shed? What are you looking forward to? Because I can't help you sent me that picture saying you've ruined my life and now I'm building a replica.
Yeah. How did that come about? Oh yeah, look, it's a bit of a long story. We've got a few friends that are into Lotuses. And they're bits of purists and snobs. They'd never look at a replica. And there was, I can't say too much, but there was one guy, he wasn't overly impressed with that Lotus 23 that my brother and I built. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful car. But because it's not a real one, he's not interested. You think, well, come on. That's just a bit of a running joke. You ruined my life by building a replica.
Well done.
Well, we've got a completely brand new car here for day 2 that wasn't here on day 1. It's the Vail Automotive GT1. Now, this is based on a Porsche Boxster. It's the Porsche Boxster from 96 to 2004. And as you can see, it's very much that GT1 race car kind of kit at the moment. You can tell it's still got some sort of finishing touches to be done to it, but it does look a really impressive car. Got a very wide track then. I'll imagine it's got some really, really good road presence, this. But yeah, something absolutely brand new at the show. Really good to see.
So what do you think, guys? Do you like Busas in the shed? Do you like build projects from across the planet? Do you like something that's outside the gene pool? Let us know what you think. Write it down in the comments, and we'll see you at 7 Spot.